welcome back to the program. On Third Mutual's budget process is coming up, and who better to talk to than the treasurer over there at Third, Donna Rain-Shostak. Thank you very much for joining us, as always.
It's my pleasure.
Is it your pleasure to talk budget, though?
Depending on how much we can keep it down in terms of increases for the next year, and that's always the challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. Anytime the meetings are being held, anytime I think the residents here are always talking about how do we keep the costs down? How do we do those things? And guys don't take this lightly. You are already working on the budget process. It's kind of a year-round thing. We really never stop, right?
Not only do we never stop, but the departments, maintenance, construction, landscape in particular, because they've got typically the biggest challenges. It started, for 2026, the budget process started last fall.
Right.
And that was the departments working on it. And
so they took a look at what they're going to project and they're going to do and the things that they have coming up, whether it's deferred maintenance that they have to get to or the regular routine stuff.
And thank you for saying deferred maintenance, because we don't do that. We don't defer maintenance.
There you go. And that's one of the things that I've noticed here too, is like the things that need to be maintained are maintained. And when you go to communities that have those deferred maintenance, they just kind of kick the can down the road, right?
Yes,
and they get
and I
into
think
trouble.
it's important that our members know that we don't kick the can down the road. And it's interesting that in the responsibilities of a board, obviously one of them is levy assessments, and we're to do it sufficient to maintain the common areas, which in our case is the structures outside, the external structures as well. So it's quite challenging. But it's also to fund the reserves for maintaining the common areas for what we don't know is going to happen, but can anticipate. So it's really quite a challenge. And then, on top of that is purchase insurance, which is actually a mandate, and we certainly should. So it's all a lot of work. We appreciate the work our departments here do within VMS because they bring us things. They bring us a plan.
Full information. So let's talk about the budget process already. Like you said, it's already underway. The first version of the budget has already been debated. It was going on in May and June.
We first got we got the first version after meeting early in the year. The boards meet with maintenance and construction, landscape, and the departments. And we sort of say, okay, let us know, what you're going to need. And by June 9th, we were presented with version 1 of what they thought would happen. And sometimes that includes some wants as well as the needs, because we're really trying to stay ahead. And at that point, they came in and it looked like, the first run through looked like it might be a 10% increase, and it was like, we can't do that. Can we maintain this community and do it for a little less? And so they went back to work again. And just last week, actually, we received as the board a printed copy, an internet copy, of version 2. And the version 2 was better. We were down to about 5%.
So when they go back to do those reductions, what are they telling you they're doing? They're cutting out some of the wants. They're saying, okay,
and that's always the challenge.
The wish list kind of goes away a little bit.
And there are the needs.
Yeah. Okay.
And what we anticipate, and because we don't do deferred maintenance, we do that. And this year was particularly challenging because there was some dry rot discovered in some of the Garden Villa buildings, and we can't let that go, and we don't. I think what's important, too, the fact that there has never been a special assessment, and we never want to see one. So that, especially in a community where our structures are aging.
No, I faced, one of the communities I lived in faced a repipe, and it was one of those things where they deferred, and then they were looking at a special assessment, and that really, if you want to get homeowners upset.
And not only homeowners upset, but in this community where many people are living on a fixed income. That's, they can't handle that. And so it really is very important. So we sent, we've gotten version 2, kind of looking at it. As I say, it looks much better. It's right down around 5%. And we said, okay, give it one more try. See, are there still any wants that maybe have some wiggle room? Or, and I think what's important is there a better way to do what we're doing? An innovative way that might not cost as much. And over the years, those have happened. If we have time, I'll share them with you, but not right now because we've got a lot done.
And a lot of times those ideas come from the folks who are on the front line working. Hey, what if we consolidated these warehouses or whatever it might be, and those things can happen, then big cost savings come.
Actually the cleverest one, and I'll be faster on the other parts because this really is exciting, is several years ago, the cleverest one was, we used to pay to have landscape cuttings, et cetera, picked up and hauled away. And the debris, the manure, if you will, from the stables, hauled away. And then we bought mulch.
You went and bought mulch.
Right.
You're kind of like, wait a minute.
Yes, and that's exactly what happened. Someone said, wait a minute. And so GRF purchased a thing, it's called a tub grinder. It's this gigantic machine. You throw all of it in there. And there are compost piles over in our nursery, in our maintenance area. And they're at various stages of being ready. We don't pay any more to have it hauled away, and we don't buy any anymore, and the savings is unbelievable.
That's fantastic.
And so that's the kind of thing, and I think that was my understanding, is that it was a joint idea between some of the residents and the departments. So yes, we're always looking, is there a better way to do it? So what's important that I want to make sure everybody watching knows is that version 3, which is to be the final version.
Coming up in August.
It is, and it's coming up August 18th. It'll be a public special open session, and it will be in the boardroom at 1:30, and everybody is invited to either come. Everybody can't come, we don't have a room, but certainly as many who it can, and it's going to be televised live right here on TV6. And that will be version 3, which we hope will be, and they actually present it as the business plan.
Okay.
So the hope is this is it.
Right.
And then in September, if there's any tweaking to be done, the final plan is adopted. November, the assessment letters go out, and in January, people receive their first new assessment bill. And I wanted to share.
And once you get that final on that final version, it is really there's a little tweaking, but really that's where you kind of are locked in. We've done everything we can do kind of feeling, right?
Right, and things are divided between the operating budget, which is what we anticipate with charges that we anticipate, what things will cost, as well as the reserves and as well as the contingency fund, which is not. The contingency fund, the disaster fund, and the reserves are not part of the operating budget, which is what we expect to use every day. So all of that will come. And I do want to share with our members that every year, the January, February issue of The Breeze, and you can't read this, but you can see it's a
nice little
olive green.
breakout.
Yeah, and this is near the back of the issue of The Breeze, January and February. It's every year, and what's really nice is it also shows not just the third mutual portion, but what portion of the maintenance, this year 238.19 to be exact, went to GRF. And so it breaks it down and it shows what goes where. And what's nice is if people save that issue till the next January, they can also see what changed.
They can compare and contrast a little bit, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
and so not all, I don't know how many communities have that opportunity.
That's
so
great.
it's really
Now,
good.
there are costs that you guys simply can't control. That when things go up, they go up, and there are outside forces that you have no control over, no matter what you do with your budget, right?
Correct. And of course, the contingency fund and the reserve funds are there, and we've got to make sure they're sufficient, but we also don't want to be burdening our members with costs that don't have to happen if we don't need it that time.
Right.
This year, we're being faced with something really unexpected, and that is fire risk reduction. Parts of Laguna Woods, parts of Third, have been identified as high-risk fire areas. And we are going to be getting, and I say going to be getting, still haven't gotten the guidelines for what we have to do, but apparently there are going to be some major things related to how close plants can be to people's homes. Or to buildings, because those are fire. Interestingly, trees are less of an issue, and the reason trees are less of an issue is because the leaves catch embers that are flying, and it's the flying embers that often are what make a fire spread.
Okay.
So we're waiting, but we anticipate there's going to be a significant cost for fire reduction. That's Orange County Fire. All they did was let us know, and just in case people want to get a sense of what that is, the area around Gate 5, Clubhouse 5, Clubhouse 6, Gatehouse 9, so that whole west end of the village that is along the wilderness area is affected by that. And then we have non-functional turf. And we've been working on that. That's turf that isn't really used even for enjoyment, other than to look at.
The only time anybody's ever used is when the landscaper mows it.
Right, and if that's the case, that's probably going to be non-functional turf. So that's been challenging as well. We have done, and that's a different day's discussion, but we have done a great deal of conversion from areas that were grass with high maintenance, cutting, feeding, watering, edging, which takes forever,
Right.
and is sometimes winding in and out. Those things have been converted in many cases. Several thousand square feet
Okay.
have been converted to drought-tolerant plantings, and they're beautiful. When you can convert it, and that's a win-win.
Right.
And the maintenance has gone down. That's what's wonderful is we
Yeah.
did it to meet an obligation and legislation, and they're beautiful. They
There's a little
look
bonus.
wonderful, and yeah, and so that's great. Obviously, utility rate increases.
Mm-hmm.
We can't help. And this month, I do want to make a special point. We can't do much about the sewer and electric rates.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do about that. And we can't do anything about the water rates, which unfortunately are high. All of our potable water is transported from somewhere else. It doesn't come from here.
Right.
But what we can do something about is how much of that potable water we use.
Mm-hmm.
And so I urge everybody, please, think about
Conserve
your
that
usage.
water.
When you're brushing your teeth, turn off the water while you're still brushing it. Gallons can be saved a day.
I remember when I was a kid, I'd always have the water running, and I
Yeah.
finally figured out why am I, like when somebody pointed it out, I was like, why are we running the water when you're not brushing?
And when shaving in the morning,
Yeah.
if you turn off the water while you're doing it, it can be as much as 10 gallons a day per person. Because it just keeps running,
Right.
So that's one. The other is toilets leaking. Inside someone's residence, we don't know what's happening. And sometimes that leak is so tiny that no one knows. And if there's any possibility, or if you get a letter, if our members get a letter that says you're in the excessive use, higher price per unit range, there's a way to check and see if it's your toilet.
No, I just replaced mine, and it has the low flush stuff and the high flush stuff, and it's life changing.
Yeah, well, that's life-changing. But what's even more life-changing, there are little blue tablets that we get free from El Toro Water District. One can put the blue tablet in the tank, and if the water in the bowl turns blue, you've got a leak.
That's how I knew mine was leaking.
Yep.
Because it was making noise every once in a while. I'm like, is that a leak or not? And that's how I know. So I had it replaced.
And although
fantastic.
the minimal leak, the smallest leak is 30 gallons of water a day that's wasted.
That's
And it can
crazy.
go as high as 600 gallons if it's one that you can hear
can
the
hear,
water
right.
actually running.
Yep.
So, I want to mention that because that is something that we can control, even in the broader picture, that we cannot.
And with inflation goes the wage increases that people have been needing just to keep up with inflation, and that's part of the factor that also goes into your calculations too, right?
And someone asked, they said, well, shouldn't your budget be exactly equal with the cost of living, the COLA, the cost of living adjustment? The answer is no, because we also have buildings to maintain, things like the dry rot we discovered,
Right.
things like fire risk reduction. So this is the work that goes on, and we really want to share that with people so they know where the costs are coming from and where they can help when it's possible to
We
do.
talked about some of the ways people can help, and we talked about the water and that kind of thing. So what are some other ways people can get involved and need help and those kinds of things?
Just becoming knowledgeable. Because, earlier I mentioned a suggestion that came partially from members, which is a way to save money. So people need actually, if they can get involved by attending meetings, and, we make it easy. You all televise many of ours.
Yes, we
They're
do.
shown again. We have our own YouTube channel. One could see it forever if they'd like to.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, and attending those meetings, even when they're going on live or on TV6, such as when the third version of the budget will be presented. They're the fourth Wednesday of every month, unless there's an exception. We have town halls, and people can come and present their questions, and we can focus on one specific topic that there's not time for. Every Friday, What's Up in the Village comes in email for those of you who get it. And then, of course, what I mentioned earlier, cost-saving initiatives, which can make a big difference.
Let me just ask this. Is a way to get involved is serving on committees? I'm bringing that expertise, because we have lifetimes of expertise for some people in some areas.
We do. We
And
have
can that be,
amazing
maybe they can bring that expertise in there and maybe find those
And thank
areas.
you for asking, because they can't serve as a member of the committee because we have to actually sign all kinds of confidentiality and other kinds of things and have we are ultimately responsible. But every committee has advisors. And advisors, that's where we take that wonderful knowledge that they have.
Right.
And a different perspective. Someone once said, what's perspective? Well, if you've got a paper in front of you and I'm sitting over here, I could sit here all day. I'm never going to see what that paper says because for me, it's upside down. I have to get out of my seat and walk around to see it. The perspective is what our members can bring from their perspective, from their, whether it's their experience through work, through a profession, through living there, whatever. And so, an advisor, and they apply to the board.
Right.
And like us, they are volunteers. But we really, really value them, and we encourage it. We like to also change them out periodically so that we get more input.
That's definitely one way to get involved for sure, and I think that's a good way because I think a lot of people come to those meetings, and again, sometimes they think, oh, the board just decided this on a whim without the knowledge of those. The committee does the work and they advise, and you guys overdo it, and then you debate it. But sometimes, when people maybe aren't as involved, they think, oh, you guys are just, what are you doing?
Well, and if you aren't involved, you wouldn't know.
Right.
How do you know? So we try to make it as transparent as we can. First, by having the open meetings. Second, by having this wonderful infographic every January, February issue of The Breeze. And so we try, but the more involved people can be, the better it gets.
All right. What is maybe one or two other little money-saving options that people might be able to look at?
Actually, and thank you, because I really want to encourage people. The first one on the list is Easy Pay for monthly assessment. It has several benefits. When someone pays their monthly assessment by check, the mutual pays a processing fee. And if instead they set up Easy Pay, the payment is taken directly from their checking account and just automatically sent over. There is zero cost to us for that happens. But the other benefit for the members, if there is an increase, no matter how slight, some years it might only be $5 if we're lucky, but that'd be very lucky. But no matter how much that increase is, if it's small, when you have Easy Pay, you don't have to worry about what it was. It will be taken out in the right amount. We have gotten people coming to us in March and saying, wait a minute, why am I getting these letters that I'm behind on my payments?
Okay,
I always send it out.
They were writing the same
I'm sending the right
check.
amount, and no, it's actually not the right amount anymore because January. So it's a benefit. It just makes life easier for everybody. And then opting out of mail documents. When we moved in 15 years ago, we got things in the mail all the time.
Right.
The more that can be sent by the internet, not only are we saving a lot of trees, but in addition, and cost, printing cost, everything. But that would be just the mailing cost itself. So those are some of the things everybody can do. And the board will just keep working, and our departments, our wonderful people in our departments are going to keep working too. So we hope to keep this community as lovely as we can. And
so when folks opt out of the mailers, how are they getting the information? Are they getting it
if
through?
They opted out, if they opt out, it would be
then they're getting it through the
directly through the internet.
Okay, emails,
and then, of
things
course,
like that.
You all at TV6 help as well.
We do our best.
You do, and your best is pretty good.
What's been the biggest learning curve for you as a board member in terms of this whole budget process? In terms when you very first started here, and then when you got to now I got my rhythm. I know what we're doing here.
Yeah, and fortunately I came with experience. I'm not an accountant. I sort of feel like if my value, if any, is to translate things from accountees to the kind of language all of us understand. But I had experience as an administrator and grant manager, really managing large budgets. But I think the most surprising thing for me, and a very good surprise, was the incredible amount of work that our staff and our departments do to really come up with what they can. And the wonderful relationship that the board maintains with the departments, because that relationship is essential. We can't know. We don't know unless we know.
Right. And how important is the sense of transparency and the communication that goes back and forth so people know what's going on, so it doesn't come like a surprise, and being here like today and other things you do.
Yeah, and that's why we come usually, every month when we can. And when it comes to budget, I've been kind of doing it quarterly this year to help people keep abreast and to know we're at this point now, we're at that point now. These are challenges this year, like the fireworks reduction that we just faced.
All right, folks, we'll come out to the August meeting. It's a good one. It's an important one. It's the big budget conversation. Donna Shostak, thank you so much. Donna Rain Shostak, thank you so much for joining us today from 3rd.
Okay, thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much. It's always a pleasure to be here.
You're watching This Day. We'll be right back with a movie preview. Stay with us.